Hey everyone, so you've started Birthrights. It's book one in an epic fantasy series that I'm currently writing. I hope you've enjoyed it and that you've been fully engaged with some of the characters that I have crafted. My name is David Trotter. I am the author of Birthrights, the story that spanned 3 years of my life to create. Through some of the more challenging parts of my life. It's kind of where a lot of the characters' emotions, thoughts, and kind of back in situations drove from was from some experiences that I had. But we're not here to talk about me, we're here to talk about the book. So let's kind of dive on into that. So firstly, let's talk about kind of the story and to the two major arcs of the story. And those are Darius's arc, our male protagonist, and then Aaliyah's. So from what you've probably read so far, being in chapter 10, you have kind of figured out that Darius is not from the time period that this is all going in. So at the beginning in the prologue, he was cursed with a spell which put him to sleep for about 1,000 years, waking up in a world wholly unknown to him. His main story is a Herculean journey of self-discovery and trials. He is trying to be the person that he was destined to be due to the nature of his calling as a Pharaoh mage, hence the last son of the Pharaoh mage. The Pharaoh mage were guardians who were called to protect the land from dark creatures. The only problem is Darius finds himself in a world where those don't seem to exist anymore. So he deals with a lot of internal conflict, PTSD, and survivor's guilt due to being the last of his people. Luckily, he is found by a kindly priest in that of Renan. And by the way, if I pronounce things a little bit differently, I promise you it's not that big of a deal. Everybody has their own way to say things. But Renan, the priest, finds Darius and offers him a place to stay and to kind of work things out. But as you learned, he reports up to a gentleman by the name of Elkon, or Elkon, depending on who you are. He is the high priest of the large church that is kind of the ecclesiastical organization head for the city-state of Termor. He then takes on Darius as kind of his protege and student, so that way he can help decipher what's going on in Darius's life. And it is through their communications, their talks, and a couple of self-discovery and a few strange things that Darius says that Elkon pieces together the fact that he's been asleep for 1,000 years. During all this time, we meet Aaliyah, probably my favorite character. She's a spiteful little spitfire that had a really rough start. And I started writing this book in 2018 before COVID was a thing. But she lost her family to what is called the White Plague, which is why her hair is white and her skin is a little bit more bleached out than her fellow Ordations, who have that more particular olive toned skin and dark curly hair. She still is Ordation. She just, due to the fever, it kind of washed out her complexity, almost making her albino, just like which is why a lot of the women wear wigs of color, and the men wear wigs as well, or cut their hair if they've been sick, so that way you can't know that they have been infected with the plague. It's kind of the way higher society said, oh, we're better than you lower class society, because they dye, color, and change their appearance, so that way you can't really tell who had caught the plague or not. I don't know if y'all caught that, but that was a little side thing I threw in there. But yeah, she's pretty spiteful. She joins a thieving crew, which is where you meet Felix and Tomo. Two individuals that have a profound impact on our life. Felix in that of a mentor leader, even if he has some side feelings for her, and then that of Tomo, her lover, which she and her, you will hopefully, for those of you who continue to read, they have some fantastic story arcs, as they have been they need each other a lot. They are very important to each other. Well, during all of this, we learn that Felix, the leader of this little band, is being blackmailed to steal the king's jewel. When Aaliyah catches wind of this, she's not super thrilled because she knows it's pretty much impossible. But she still follows the plan, and they go to a masquerade ball. It's there that she comes across an idol of mystical proportions, I guess I should say, an arcane item infused with the spirit of a dead deity. So the spirit of a god resides in this scepter. So the next part of the book that you haven't got a chance to read, these are kind of the plot beats that go on. Aldorian, the mid-counselor that is kind of blackmailing him, sells out Felix and his crew to the law, and they are accosted at the mayoral mansion during the masquerade. A few of them escape. Tornak does not. Aaliyah is, again, very frustrated due to uppers taking advantage of yet again another person that she cared about. At the masquerade, like I said, she does get this strange feeling with this article, but she doesn't take it. So to plot their revenge, they decide to steal the King's Jewel for themselves now, not for Aldorian, and use it as leverage to escape and get away. And it's during that heist that Felix is taken down. We learned through secondhand that both Falom and his companion are both Balthazar are both killed, and we also witness Tomo's last breaths as she was shot down with some arrows. So some pretty heart-wrenching moments there, and Aaliyah blames herself very strongly because she is drawn to this talisman, this item, and she leaves her post, selfishly thinking, oh, I'm going to cause a distraction, but really she leaves her post, which allows these things to happen. But when she does take the scepter, she actually fuses with that entity. That entity is called Ayanora, and it is Ayanora's purpose to seal away a mystical evil spirit. Flip back over to Darius. And this may get a little confusing, but I'll do my best. Darius, he is having dreams. He's having dreams that he needs to find things. And he is out at the temple working on the steps, or the sanctuary, working on some steps, doing masonry work, trying to keep his mind busy, trying to ponder and think, when he notices that a young girl in white is being chased by a couple of bandits that he has seen do really nasty things to people in the past. So being the big man that he is, he says, well, I'm going to go interfere, and he runs interference. Probably one of my favorite fight scenes in the midsection of the book. He lays out a couple of the robbers pretty quickly, breaks the gun over the ground, and then tries to save the girl. Finds out the girl is Aaliyah, and when they meet, something very strange happens. There's kind of like an electric feel, and it shocks Aaliyah awake. That was, unbeknownst to Darius, his ability to awaken these sages. Again, these mystical deity beings that are sealed behind these scepters. All right, split again. They separate ways. Aaliyah has now been given the ability to control the air. She can fly, she can shoot pretty much wind out of her hands, and she flies off into the air, just astonishing everyone around her, because again, in Term War, nobody believes in magic. Back to Darius. Darius realizes he may be something more. His fight in the streets, he uses his ability, and so people are talking. Also, because of the fight in the street, Renan ends up dying, which hurts Darius pretty bad emotionally. And Darius is captured by Aluth, taken to the temple before the High Priest's Council, which Elkon sits on, and is told that he has a special calling to go deliver a letter to somebody called the Apostle, who is really important in Book 2. So he sets off to Renok with a small little group of people to go deliver this letter. Back to Aaliyah. Aaliyah finds out that all of her companions are dead, and with her super abilities now that she has, she goes on a revenge quest to find them. She finds out that Tornak was actually the one who betrayed them all to Aldorian, and she confronts him, finds out that Tornak was working for a man called Ranhalaz, and Ranhalaz was working for a man called Eidos, so there's kind of this tier of people. Once she finds that out, she dispatches away with Tornak and heads off to confront Aldorian, Eidos, and Betrigan in Aldorian's chambers in Ranhalaz. Come to find out, Aldorian is a little sniveling snot, like you would have thought. Well, a fat sniveling snot, and she doesn't kill him. She kind of is just like, you're not worth my time. And she goes after these other men. Well, Betrikin ends up killing Ranelagh in front of all of them for reasons that are unknown to them. And he sets off. He just takes off. And there ensues probably one of the coolest fights in my story. Betrikin is teleporting around, Eidos is using flames, they're both attacking Aaliyah, and Aaliyah finally, overwhelmed, being defeated, she's knocked to the ground, she enters into the ethereal realm, where she is confronted by the spirit, the ethereal form of Tomo, where Tomo pretty much says, I love you, but you have to let me go, and you have to let others in. And when she does that, Aaliyah finally accepts Ayanora as her bonded half, and she goes, if you watch Dragon Ball Z, she pretty much goes Super Saiyan. She goes ultra powerful, and she beats or manages to survive both Betrikin and Eidos, driving them away, but not without taking a serious cut to the face, and then blacking out. Betrikin, like I said, escapes with Ranelagh's corpse. We don't know why he left, and Eidos disappears. He just kind of like says, hey, Betrikin, you can easily take this girl, I gotta go. And you feel like he's just copping out, leaving Betrikin to die, but he just on. Flip back to Darius. Darius is running through the forest. He's trying to deliver this letter, and he's running away from men called huntsmen, and they were sent by the government to hunt down magical creatures, Darius being a magical entity, and they're chasing Darius, and he's trying to hide in the forest. It's there that he finds a group called the Daiju. The Daiju are kind of traveling folks, think gypsies, but not gypsies. They are spirit talkers, and they have a really unique religion that I won't go into right now. But because the huntsmen were in the woods, they found the Daiju, and there's bad blood between Daiju and the Ordations and the Danes. Like, the Daiju don't really fit in among any other social groups. And the huntsmen are attacking and massacring this band of pretty much helpless Daiju. Darius, again, unable to draw upon the sunlight because it's now nighttime, we see his true pharaoh form, hence the name Pharaoh Mage. He takes on the ability to become a bear, just a big hulking bear with iron fur, and he wrecks these huntsmen. He fights them, chewing, biting, gnawing at them, but it's too late. The Daiju are pretty much massacred, all except for one, who is using magic. And not like a blessing, but like true magic. She's shooting bolts of green lightning, expanding black tentacles of mist, and just fighting and holding her own. Darius is shot a few times, which finally takes him down. He doesn't die, but he's taken down and injured, and he limps off. And again, questioning his ability to be a Pharaoh Mage due to the invention of guns. He's just not strong enough to stand up to them. He wakes up to this woman that he saw fighting, this Daiju woman, and she, thanks him, says, hey, I saw that you were a bear. Darius, being not very great at talking to women or hiding secrets, is like, no, that wasn't me, because, he doesn't really want to get into it. He doesn't want to open up right now. He's kind of doing a self-pity party. And she's like, okay, so she kind of says, hey, my tribe is pretty much wiped out, but I've got some people up north of Daneland where you're heading. Do you mind if I follow along? So they set off together. As they go off, they start to feel this like eerie feel that something's wrong. There's something wrong in the forest. Darius has another dream, and during that dream, Isabel, the Daiju female, is accosted by a black mist, like a really evil black mist, and in Darius's dream he sees a cave, and in that cave he sees a demon, and in the black mist Isabel hears the voice of a demon, the same, and so they both are like, hey, something's wrong, there's something in this forest. And Darius is like, hey, I am actually Pharaoh Mage, this is my responsibility, I need to do this by this like self-driven need to be somebody. So he and her set off to find this cave. On their way, they see this blue light in the form of a wolf, that leads them to the cave. Inside the cave, Isabel has to hold open a magical door. Once Darius passes through, the door is sealed again. She's unable to hold it open and pass through. And Darius is left to confront this demon called an Ithionom, which can only be created by Morians, which you read about Morians at the beginning. They're dark creatures. So Darius now realizes that the Morians aren't all gone. His purpose is not fulfilled. He has a reason to be there. But he also realizes that that spirit wolf, that blue wolf, was being projected from a little girl. I'd say little girl, she's like 13, 14 years old, who is bound to an altar, and this Ithionom is about to eat her soul. He fights the Ithionom. He ultimately ends up sacrificing himself to beat the Ithionom, getting ripped in half at the guts to do that. But as the Ithionom fades, he sees the face of Dibahale, which you also see that Eidos shares that same face. So things are starting to come together now. We now know that's why Eidos left the fight. He was controlling this Ithionom that was fighting Darius, and he's trying to stop Darius. Things are starting to tie together. But the last thing that we see is Darius fades because he's now busted open. He can't draw upon any light because he's in the cave. He can't heal. He's been too weakened, being too far away. Isabel is finally able to open the door. There was a vessel that was given Betrikin by one of the blessed. She uses that to revive him, save his life. They get the girl, the little girl, and with renewed sense of purpose, Darius sets off to return this girl to her people. Isabel points out that she's a Danelander. It's like, I know where she's at. She's on their way. We got to get her to safety. So Darius is like, the letter can wait. We'll get the girl to her people and then we'll go. But we realize that Isabel has some reservations due to how Danelanders treat the Daiju. But they say, hey, you know what? We'll do it. We'll go together and we'll deliver this girl. And that is where book 1 ends. Aaliyah just barely managed to survive a horrible fight. She's scarred really bad from a cut to the face. Betrikin's disappeared. We realize that Eidos is more involved than we thought. We realize that Darius he has a purpose in the fact that as a Pharamage, his purpose is to defend the land from these dark creatures, and they're coming back. So he has renewed sense of purpose. And then we start to see that Isabel may be playing a larger role in his life. He is definitely attracted to her, but there's no kind of romantic reciprocation. She's kind of not shown anything like that. But that is the end of book 1, and I hope you enjoy.